Yes, indeed, indeed, indeed. We are here, we're here, we're here. And we're very happy to be able to be of service today, to be able to help with this connection, because this being has been here for quite some time. As you know, there is no such thing as time. And so he always knew that this would be a moment in time for him to be able to connect in. And he has been patiently waiting, like many have been patiently waiting to get out their own perspective and their own information from their lives as certain beings that they played the roles of. And so he has been assisting and nudging. And it is very interesting because the time, as soon as you decided that you would make today the time, he had connected in with her. And so he has been with her. He wants to say, he was observing and embodying, watching her doing her chores and living the life as the person she is today. So he's here, he's waiting, and he is so honored to be here and wants to send so much love to all. He also knows that it's heavy hearts that have to hear that he did depart and he is no longer walking this earth. And he wants to say that living on earth and having each day the possibility to walk on earth is a profound privilege and an honor, and must be respected as such and not taken for granted in any way. And he says that some of his days he did take for granted and he did not see the blessings, the full potential and blessings of his life. Most days he did the best he could. And so now he is opening up the floor to be introduced and to be of service, to assist you in any questions that you have for him today.
Well, thank you, Tupac, for coming in and speaking with us. We all appreciate it. And I know a lot of people were hoping that you were, in fact, still alive. So that's going to be something that some are going to be a little bit surprised by. But with regards to your passing, could you just tell us a little bit about what happened that night and what your experience was when you left your body?
Well, it was just a social gathering event, and it just sort of seemed to be an exit point that I didn't realize was going to be happening. Of course, I was very much on edge and very suspicious of being out in public and being vulnerable, given the state of the climate of my social settings and who and how we lived. And it was a surprise for me to see myself merge out of the body. But it wasn't an instant shift out of the body, but it also was. So I stayed with my body for quite some time. And it is an interesting experience to see how people view you after you may or may not be alive. And so there was lots of experiencing how people truly thought of me and how people felt about me. It's weird to say that I actually traveled around experiencing people grieving for me who I didn't even know. And so if you say the ghost realm, as this vehicle would term it, I did travel and see lots of people really moved with my music and listening to my music and really hoping that I would be okay. And to sit with them, to feel how much my music and what my words meant to them was quite extraordinary. I was not prepared to realize and see how much I had impacted others. You cannot even fathom how much music and words can impact others. And so, while I knew that my body was elsewhere, I was traveling around, being called to be with others who were reacting to my physical situation. And to see others I almost want to say around the world, but it really wasn't around the world. It was many different places that I hadn't even traveled. But it was quite a busy time for me. But it's hard to explain. But when people knew that I was in the hospital and they knew I was injured and they were hoping for my recovery, people sent prayers to me. And when you send a prayer to someone, you get their attention of their soul essence. And so I traveled. But because there is no time, I almost want to say I traveled to everyone and attended everyone's prayers for me. And everyone who had positive thoughts for me, I traveled to. I want to say I sat beside them and I got to experience what their lives were like and why I triggered them to have compassion for me and to understand my lyrics and my information. It is extraordinary times to have visited these people when they're completely oblivious to me. But it was an extraordinary time to experience that. I know I keep saying time, which is hard, but I want to say that my perspective of visiting everyone was a really longer journey than possibly even my own days of living on and walking on the earth. And so I wasn't in a rush to support everyone in their perspective of that time. And even after I was pronounced dead, I still got to experience and explore being with people and supporting people. Energetically, I was right there with them. And this is why so many people think I'm alive, because they could feel my energy. I haven't gone anywhere. I'm sitting right beside you.
Wow. Well, thank you for that. And just want to understand, with your impact of so many people here and still here, what was that life purpose that you had as Tupac?
So my frequency vibrations of the information is a high dimensional realm. I want to say that I was one of the volunteers. I almost want to say like what you would sort of consider a second wave volunteer. I came down to be able to raise the frequency vibrations of this planet because I was supposed to help shift humanity, like with everyone else. There was a big point in time where this planet could have shifted. And so I came in to be of service as a light worker to be able to not only empower my mother and her family, but to be able to just hold a lot of frequency vibrations. And so my original life contract was only to survive for a few years because we perceived and planned at that point that humanity would have shifted and evolved into a higher dimension. This did not occur. And so, as I was still here to be of assistance and service, I could easily tap into higher frequency. I could have great discernment. And I knew the power of words. I knew the power of frequency and music. And so I wanted to show and give examples and allow people to be able to hear certain frequencies and certain information that was direct and had some rhythmic connections to what others were going through. I needed to be relatable, and people needed to see that I was a human, I was a man, I was a person. And I wanted everyone to be accountable for each individual actions. We are all accountable for all our actions. And I wanted to be seen as an individual, a hardworking individual. And I could have chosen any way to impact this world. And I chose music and lyrics because I believed that in the power of that, it's undeniable. And so I knew that I was opening up the hearts and minds and connecting to many because of that higher integrity frequency. And so I was here to be of service, and I wanted to empower everyone. I wanted everyone to see if I could be who I was. You all have the same possibilities and chances to be whomever you want to be, to empower yourselves. You just need to put the effort and work in. I was not given my platform. I earned it because I worked hard for it. And I strived. I never gave up on myself. I believed in myself, and I knew the power of how much impact I could have with people. And the more I worked on my tunes. And so I was very motivated to be able to do such, because it was a direct access to higher frequency integrity. While the words may not have been sonnets, it still gave a lot of food for thought, and people could consider so much wisdom within these simple lyrics. But I am proud of my life. I'm proud of what I accomplished. I'm just, the things that do not empower people is greed. And I did experience lots of greed around me, lots of egos tripping up themselves around me. And for those people who knew me, I was a gentleman. And when someone is trying to slander my name, slander my integrity, I was an easy target, because I wanted and trusted the best for everyone. But I have to say, in my short amount of years, I became somewhat jaded and disillusioned that people wanted the best for humanity, because it seemed like so many people kept making choices to not empower themselves and not empower others. In fact, it became very disconnected, and we were fighting amongst ourselves. And there should never have been any fighting at all. We should have seen that there was enough for all, and there always has been enough for all. But when you throw in egos, and when you throw in fragile egos at that, things can get very volatile quite quickly. And so I want to let everyone know that I was targeted many times. And what you may read about me and my demeanor, that's not the case of what my real friends and true friends know of me. And I just needed to say that, because in my words, you should know me.
Well, thank you for explaining that. Yes, I mean, in the music itself, in a lot of the lyrics, it is very deep, I would say, poetic. And, it's so meaningful that you brought up a lot of the injustices that was going on. With regards to your mother, what was the significance of her being your mother in that lifetime?
I wanted to, she wanted to be a powerhouse in her own voice and stand up for rights. And she wanted to be righteous. And she needed to be able to have hope and faith, that the future generations were going to be capable of having compassion and consideration. And for her lack of, she was starting to lose faith and hope that different cultures would be seen as one. And so I needed to be born for her, so she could focus on raising a positive generation that were going to be respectful to all genders and to all races. She raised me incredibly well. And I needed to be there for her to raise up her vibrations and frequency and give her trust. I want to say she was what you would almost call a first waver as well. She was not afraid to use her voice. She stood up. She was a powerhouse. And the hardest thing when I did pass was to see how much that impacted her. And that was a really hard thing to see, is that she, even though she could intensely feel me, the mourning that she had over me, I want to say it shortened her life, and her hope for a better humanity almost went when I did. And I came to her in many dreams to let her know I was still here and I was still with her. And as I was mentioning to Joanne before, one of the best experiences was to be there when she did pass, to be able to help her gain her senses of who she was and where she is. And it's challenging because, as I said, when people pray for you, you get like a notification, shall I say, that someone's thinking of you. And because you become incredibly telepathic and sensitive to all thoughts and feelings about you, when there are people you're so attached to, even though I've had many other lifetimes, and even though she is not my only mother, I could still feel her grieving and mourning me. And I wanted to support her so much in her own mission and purpose. She taught me so much, and I honor everything to her. And I know that I know that the media and even influential people wanted to discredit me. She knew my heart. And when I died, a part of her died with me, which was her hope. And I wanted to keep giving her so much hope, because life is good. But you have to keep having faith and trust. She lost her way a bit, I want to say. And it is fine now. We can laugh about it now. But when you're in the 3D, when you're completely surrounded in the 3D, lifetimes, you get so distracted with the details. And so that was a hard thing for her to experience, was my exit. It's very unnecessary. The range that some people want to disempower them with the exit points of people, just because there is no death. And so those people who say I'm still alive, well, yes, I am still alive. I never die. I left my physical body, it is true. But I would never have hidden myself and let my mother be so tortured with my death, or the illusion of my death. I would never have done that to her. And so it's heavy, because the reason why my exit point was that way, was to really once and for all stop the inner wars. When men are killing men who are supposed to be on the same teams, you have a problem. You have a big problem. And instead of empowering each other and seeing each other as equals, we saw each other as rivals and competition and felt threatened. While I didn't want to play into those threatening games, I started forming allegiance with people who did. And I was hoping to be able to keep them open-minded, open-hearted. I had faith. I had trust that these good people would see we are all one. And you mustn't then join one side and fight for one side. You must, and we must all have realized we're all on the same team. We're all on the same sides. And when you have this ongoing war that just keeps upping the ante, when is it going to stop? Who is fueling this? Who has always been fueling this? I want to say that there are so many amazing, amazing people who have lived this planet, who have been cut short because of their being at the wrong place at the wrong time and looking like a threat. I want to say that I did have more exit points opportunities. And this one was supposed to be so shocking to the world who followed this society and this culture. It was supposed to stop at me. And instead of it stopping at me and realizing enough is enough, we have lost too many already. It continued on and continued on and continued on and continued on. When are you going to learn? And I say this to humanity, when are you going to learn that there is no fixing this with more violence? There is no fixing what is wrong with humanity in any real aspects apart from compassion and love and seeing one as all, because we are all one. And I know that from this perspective, because I'm coming to you from a higher dimensional aspect, I haven't been coming to you as the consciousness of the person who was living. I am reflecting on my life and the journey of my life. But I am more than that now, and I always was more than that. But I went and I played my role, and it is frustrating because everything that I said, it still resonates deeply with society, but it doesn't seem to be applied by society. And we still seem to be watching humanity make the same mistakes. And when is the lessons going to be learnt? Because you keep experiencing the same demise of each other, the same battles with each other, the same competition as each other, the same threats as each other, the same division with each other. This is considered madness in terms of repeating the same experiences and not evolving and growing from it. From our perspective, because as I said to Joanne before, I am working with the collectives. So we are all observing this. And while there is lessons, while there is density that has been matched and healed from and overcome from, you're still focusing on complying. You're still working in systems that you know don't work. You still are being obedient. You're still following the Pied Piper. And it is interesting because many of you know it doesn't help humanity. You know that you're still being divided. You know you're still being guided into what we could call as humanity's demise, because you're not able to have critical thinking anymore. And even if you do, you still don't apply it. And so you still keep to your routines. You still keep small, and you don't want to be spoken out. You're still afraid to speak out. And I sung out. I wasn't afraid. I wasn't afraid, even though I was having dreams of dying. And I was having dreams of being attacked and robbed, because they were not just nightmares. I was tapping into what people wanted to do to me, because I was a target. I had the audacity to be a free speaker and get popular and get rich from it. But I didn't let it get to my ego the best I could. And I knew I had to work hard, because I was working the best I could for humanity. I wasn't trying to get street cred. It just comes with the lifestyle that I was living. But I want anyone who's questioning my integrity. Yeah, I loved distracting myself with the temptations and treats that was given to me. And I did have to watch my back, and I did have to try and protect myself, absolutely. Because when you're known to be carrying money, or you've got influence, or if you're deemed famous or rich, that definitely got a lot of people's attention. And in some regards, I wanted everyone's attention, because I wanted them to listen and apply to the information, the lyrics and my words, and to feel empowered, to know that there is voices speaking out for their cultures and their races. And I saw everyone as the same. And we weren't getting much voices for us, because we had been so downtrodden for so long. And so I was working hard. I needed to be outspoken. I needed to be in the spotlight. I needed attention on me, because my words and the information was important, not just for our culture, but for our race as humanity, to be reminded. And yes, I understand many people got triggered by the use of the language. But when you're fucking pissed off with humanity, how else can you say it? Because I couldn't wrap my words in my disdain for how you were treating each other and how we were treating each other with a beautiful little bow on top. I needed it to be expressive. I needed to express myself and my frustrations. And while I could have been eloquent and used much more nicer words, sometimes there has to be swears. So I'm not sorry for my use of language, because sometimes the words don't express the frustrations that go behind it.
Wow. So true. Thank you. Thank you for that. With humanity now, and us being so close to shifting, what do you see over where you are with the collectives with regards to what's happening right now, and what do you foresee with humanity soon?
I see when humanity shifts, they will all, when they get over the shock of it, they will all reflect back and think it was so easy to have just changed our attitudes and our demeanors towards each other and love each other. Why the heck were we resisting? Why were we scared of our neighbors? Why were we scared of our family? Why were we scared of people who we should have naturally trusted? Why have we got these resistance? Why do we have these walls? Because that's not who we are. And that's not who we should have ever been. But we suddenly started to distrust each other, be afraid, want to compare each other, want to get ahead of each other, want to be better than each other, beat each other. compete with each other and have unhealthy comparisons to each other. And when you all, as humanity, evolve, grow up, you actually see you're only competing with your own insecurities and your own lack of inner work, because everyone's there. All the souls are loving and kind, but they've been beaten down in fear, believing that they're less than because of someone's comment 20 years ago. So it's going to just irritate people for them to realize how easy it was for humanity to be better. And better is not judgment, better is an observation, because you're still seeing each other as different races, you're still seeing each other as different genders, you're still seeing each other as different species and beings, you're still seeing each other as separate. It's like trying to run away from an arm that's firmly attached to you. And you're fighting, you're trying to gnaw off your own arm, trying to slap yourself silly with your own arm, to disconnect yourselves from your own arm. And yet there's no escaping it. But someone along the way try to show you that you're different from that arm, that you're not complete with it. You need to get rid of it. You need to see it as a threat. You need to see it as something else. And so when you realize that you are fully one body, one consciousness, one being, one big, great soul who's having an experience here. And of course, on Earth, it's not all of the souls. It's not possible to have all of the souls on one planet. It's not even necessary to have all of the souls on one planet. But the majority that are still here, you could easily, if you chose to have profound connection, love, compassion for each other, stop comparing each other and embrace each other, because you're all brothers and sisters. There should be no divide. There should be no divide. But as there is many divides that have been created because of your illusions that you are different, and it gives great opportunities for experiences that are independent from each other, perceived to be independent from each other. When you are so connected truly, when you're at higher dimensions, you are absorbed into all one. You have this unique opportunity to be independent with your own personalities and your own flair and temperaments, your own curiosities. All is well. And I can see it. I can see it so easy, that you're going to be suddenly so relieved that you're not trying to attack your own self, your own part of self. You're all that smorgasbord. You're all of that smorgasbord of beings here, and no one's at war with you. You're all having these beautiful experiences, the best that you are, given the blessing and the life that you are allowed to have, because you're so supported and so encouraged and so nurtured into having these independent experiences. And yet, some of you choose to have the extremes. And that is also okay, but you're not learning from them as much as you could be in some aspects. And so things are heating up, things are getting faster, the vibrations are getting a lot more rapid. And so you are having to focus on different things. You're not being so focused on certain routines. You're all getting ramped up and ready to go. So Humanity has had centuries to find its unity back as one and empower yourselves back as one, because that's ultimately what you would want to master in a third dimensional planet, is profound true unity. But it gets complicated, and as, in quotation marks, advanced as you think you are, you've sort of put things too complicated, too distracted, too fixated in details, materialism, your ranking and place in this world. And isn't that interesting that you all feel like you have to rank yourselves or have a special placement in this world because you're still trying to compete? You're only competing with yourselves. I'm speaking for humanity in general. I am not specifically speaking to you ladies, because you have the balance to just accept who you are and accept who others are. You're not in a race with others. You're actually quite balanced with who you are and what you have. And you also have great work ethics, which I appreciate and love. And so when I knew I was able to come in today, I did want to acknowledge firsthand how much I appreciated being able to connect in with you ladies, because this is an honor to be able to speak to you so freely. And while I am more detached from my life, as you are inquiring about, you have got more the soul essence that is able to reflect on one's life, but also to see things from this perspective of waiting for the shift and supporting. But because my impact was such, you could say I'm still visiting those who pray for me, who are hoping that I'm here to help them to have hope and faith. That there are people out there that are not afraid to speak their truth, to get dirty, to be able to say things are tough. You can either make them tougher or you can step up and be of service.
Mm-hmm. Yes, thank you. Thank you so much. It's definitely true. Very, very true information. I do have a question. Where will you go after the shift?
I definitely want to evolve and move in with the new earth, because I know that this would be a really helpful thing, I want to say, for my fans. But it's not just the fans as such, it's just my people. I know that there are still so many people that are so connected to me in my mission on the earth. And so I want to be there. I want to be a greeter. I want to be there to let people know that this is all good. This is what we were all coming for. I was talking about the apocalypse. I was talking about a whole big things of changes that needed to happen. People know what I was referring to now. People understand what I was saying. We either are in war and hate each other and distract each other and disempower each other, or we all get together and we all become one. And I want to show people, when they decide to arrive on New Earth, we are one. And I want to honor those, because I still cannot believe, I'm still honored that so many resonated with my work and my mission in that life, because many tried to make that impact. And it's fantastic. As much as I hated the gossip and the mistruth around me and the manipulation and the false accusations, it kind of works in my favor, the after death rumors and gossip, because it keeps my legacy alive. And because people feel that I'm still there with them, this helps them have that belief. I'm still with you. And I'm with all of you. You pray for me. You don't need to say any magical words. And of course, you know that God is great, but God is all of us. And we can judge each other as gods. We can love each other as gods. What do you choose? Do you want to empower each other or disempower each other? Because you're not having anyone judge you. There is no judgment. You spend your whole life nearly judging others in the third dimension. God's growing out of that.
Yeah. I'm actually really happy that you're going to be a greeter. That's exciting. That's exciting to hear.
It's gonna trigger some people to say this, but those who know my demeanor will understand it. Many religious people are waiting for Jesus to return, and I want to say that my fans are waiting for me to return. And I keep giving them these hints. I'm going to return. I'm going to come out. I'm going to return. And many people don't understand what I'm trying to say to them is that when you all evolve, when you all shift, we will be reunited. I haven't left humanity. I'm still here, loving you guys, loving you all, being with you. And I resonate how hard it is. You know, I wasn't with a spoon in my mouth. You know that I worked for every cent that I earned. But the money wasn't defining me. Money was the distraction because people wanted to take from me the money. But what you couldn't take away is my integrity and my good way of perceiving how to respect women and how to respect men. But also, I needed to respect myself and have boundaries. And so when I started feeling like I didn't know who to trust, I shut all my boundaries down and limited my life small because I needed to focus and I needed to work hard. And so many fun times with too many friends, I couldn't work hard and party hard, but I tried to balance everything. But I needed to still keep in and connect in with my people, with my family, with my friends. And so I still needed to live the way that we all were living. And it's often the way you all are still living in some regards. And so I was supposed to activate many because I came before. I want to say I sort of was one of the earlier second waves of volunteers that came in, and I needed to be a little bit older than some of you because when you guys really needed someone who was stepping up and speaking out, not afraid of sharing their truth and making really good justice statements, social statements to make you all remember who you should be and how you should be treating each other and how you should be treating yourselves. I needed to be a little bit older to help my second wavers, to help everyone, to support you all, to encourage you all. And if I could make it, anyone could, and in any industry. And so I always welcomed many, and I've helped many since my exit point, especially those who were influenced with my work and wanted to continue on. You could say I turned into a guide, a strong guide for them. It is hard to be an influencer and not lose yourself because you're so suddenly attractive to other people for all the wrong reasons. No one else really had the same mission that I did. And that was the hardest thing because I could easily get distracted by others. So it was a fantastic life. It was. But almost the proudest thing, apart from my work ethics, is how much I can actually support you from this other perspective, this other dimension. And so I poke many with my songs. I get many of your attentions with my songs. And even if it's not my direct songs now, I have influenced so many who wanted to step in my who wanted to take steps in my path. Because as I said, I was still supposed to live longer than I did. And so when you take away one person who was supposed to still be influential, life contracts change and other people step up in that position. And I was able to guide many and influence many, even though they just thought they were inspired by me. I was there right beside them, helping them write lyrics and songs and try to give them new beats. And I was able to, because I had worked so diligently in my life, that I could take all of those lessons and understand how the frequency and the beats and the vibrations resonate with the physical body. And so I sort of was more of I want to sort of say an expert in how it actually made you feel, because I had unique experiences of knowing the density of the world as it was, to then be able to help and encourage and inspire others in the music industry. And I knew how adding that frequency of the density that was on that planet at that time matched with the other sounds and frequencies that were occurring from the new music that was being produced. I knew that was going to be so impactful. And I know that many people who know my resonance, who knows my signature frequency as me as a soul, can feel me in other music that I have inspired and influenced heavily, being what you could call a ghost.
You never stopped working.
You never do. You never do. And it's almost as though when you're in the 3D, you really limit the lessons and growth that you can do, because you've got all those insecurities and you're still fighting your own arms and legs, which is just yourself. You just put so many limits on yourself because you are trying to compare yourself to someone else. You're fighting an invisible component. You think you're in this battle and you're not, but it's that intensity that someone else is going to be better than you, and you're always going to it's the hardest thing to express. So I'm just going to see what other words I can say, because this is an interesting vehicle for me, because she's trained in not swearing, and I don't necessarily need to swear anymore. And I'm trying to get my concepts out there through this vehicle, who has different lists, different languages, different sayings, different colloquialisms than I would. But I think that I'm still getting my message across well, but it's still distant from what my own interpretations would. No, it's the correct interpretations. I just would be using different. I'm giving her different impressions of my words, and and she is interpreting it with her own skill sets of words. And so I think she's doing a good job. But now her consciousness has come in to go, gosh, am I screwing this up for him? And so I'm saying to her that it's all well. This isn't her forte with the music realm. And now that I'm speaking in terms of frequency and vibrations, people do know my signature frequency. And especially those people who keep thinking about me and hoping that I'm still alive. I am still alive. People are still hoping that I somehow escaped and to live still. And this is what some people who are trying to channel me get, this is the best they can get, is that you'll see me soon and I'll reveal myself soon. I will come out again soon. You'll see me soon. I'll be with you soon. And I want to say it's true. That is true. That is absolutely true. But not in the 3D, my friends. I'm done. I've done my dash with that. It's too dense for me. And as much as I can love you fantastically from here, you're on your own with that density.
I don't blame you.
But I do work on, and sorry, I wanted to say, yes, we all do work. You have a little bit of a time out to get your bearings back, but you want to get back into work as much as you can because you love it, because you want to help as the best you can. And when it just seems so easy from our perspective to just love each other and stop being in conflict, internal conflict of self and others, 3D could be fantastic. You could evolve instantly as soon as you chose to stop that internal battle, to stop seeing yourselves as individuals that are competing against something that is not even there or should be there.
Yeah. And I was going to say too, I'm sure, the work that you're doing that's not in the 3D realm is a lot more enjoyable.
Well, it is absolutely, because you can see how much just being and setting intentions and sending out frequencies does impact people. But you have to almost be on it constantly because they get so distracted and they will find things to sort of, their self-talk is ridiculously powerful. But it's this negative self-talk that they're constantly trying to convince themselves out of things. They're constantly trying to convince themselves into disempowerment. And so they're so used to density and so used to negativity that they cannot seem to have faith and trust of positivity. And you just need to remember that one good person got shot, and that was it. Their lives are over, taken away from them. And that just brings you down constantly. You've got so many examples of bummers, of downers. And our history, your history is full of disempowerment. You don't really know much of positive history, do you? Because there's not much that has been promoted of positive history. You just see many people who look like they're getting close to empowering others and getting a good following being taken out by their prime. And so it's almost as if society is reminding each other, don't be empowered. It will be your demise. Don't be great at anything. It will be your demise. Fight and squabble amongst yourselves to be better, but also be terrified that if you are better, you could have some troubles along your way.
Yeah. Do you have any other messages for humanity at this time?
I love you all and was so inspired to motivate you all to look at the inequalities, the injustices, the disbalance, and to really identify each of them and question why. Why are you still doing this? What perception is still giving you benefit of this? We see that, I mean, this is not uncommon to know this, but to strive just to get more money doesn't equal being a better person. And so many people still think more money equals better life, that more more followers equals better life. It doesn't, because as soon as you start trying to pander and please others, you lose yourself. You forget your moral compass of self. And when you start living for others, then you're not even responsible for self, because you've lost self. You're disconnected from self because you're living for others who should be living for themselves. And so when you can be all responsible for your own individual perspectives, actions, morals, standards, when you can have your own empowerment, then you can start respecting and trusting and seeing others as equal, because you're not needing anything from others. You're not wanting to take away or to overpower. You are comfortable with who you are. Respect your life contracts. Respect your missions. Respect your purposes. Respect your lessons. It's all about love and respect, and honor those who are also trying to recall that honor and respect and love is what needs to be focused on. But you can't be a hypocrite. You can't expect more from others than what you're not delivering from yourself. And so there it is. The easiest view of 3D, the easiest view of what's gone wrong with humanity. And it's about perspectives and egos and lack. And if you work hard at anything, you'll always succeed. But if you also work hard at not empowering yourself, you'll also succeed in not empowering yourself. You're making choices constantly. You either do or you don't. You either are successful at your choices, or you're successful not making choices and not doing anything. It's all choices still. It's so easy from this perspective because you're not attached to the emotions of it. You don't have that insecurities. You don't have that ego driving you.
I love that. Thank you. You're welcome to cuss if you want to. I don't mind.
Well, it's the injustices that make you want to fucking swear. It is the hypocrisies of one race to another. It is all of this disempowerment. That's the stuff that everyone should be swearing at and being so disgusted with, that there should be no English language apart from disgusting fourth class, because it's just disgusting and inhumane how you're being taught to treat each other, to view each other, to fear each other. Look at your cultures right now. Many of you are afraid that you're going to infect each other with certain diseases or viruses or truths. Life is a game. Don't be afraid or shy to play it.
Yep, true.
Because you're born in it. You're born in it. You're playing it now. You're within it now. Why just dawdle when you could be bold and beautiful? You have nothing to lose apart from, you have nothing to lose in general. It's all experiences and lessons, but you take it all so seriously. Look what I was accused of. Look what I was exposed of and to. And yet, even if you were living the same life that I was, I would say live hard, live fast. Being afraid of your own shadow is a distraction that no one needs right now.
Yeah. Empowerment seems so simple, but yet for some reason it's so difficult for so many.
Yeah. And so it's that negative self-talk that keeps you limited. It's because when you think about it, when you feel invigorated and you want to go for it and you want to step up and say something or do something that's bold and empowering and endearing, and it's going to help you and it's going to help others around you. You've had this before where you've wanted to really step up and sing to the world that all you need is love, and that all you need is to see each other as equals, beautiful, beautiful souls that are equal and valuable as each other. No more, no less. Equals. And what stops you? What stops you from saying that? Or something else that you may want to sing to the world?
Yeah, I would say a lot of the times it would have to do with fear, people's fear of many things, rejection, losing their jobs, being ridiculed.
Ultimately, you're afraid that people won't listen to you or believe you, or they will listen to you and believe you and still do nothing about it. And so you want to, before you speak out, you want to make sure that it's worth your putting your neck out. Many of you, I'm not speaking to you specifically, Sally, many of you who are listening want to say something and do something to give people hope and faith and trust. But yet you already limited yourself to doing such because you feel as though you're already going to be ridiculed or disbelieved or looked down upon or judged, or someone who is in competition to you or sees you as a threat or sees you as less than is going to think something of you. And so how fast and furious do you have to think and feel to limit yourself from that disempowerment, from that epiphany of wonderment of what you wanted to say and sing to the world, and suddenly you've gone into overdrive, into thinking all of the negative things that are going to occur to you and be done to you because you want to heal the world, sing to the world, love the world, praise the world, inspire the world.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So it is easy to say positivity and to be sunshine in everyone's lives. And of course, even just having happy statements to the world, good morning, isn't it a beautiful day? You know that is going to trigger and piss off many people who do not want to see this as a good day, who do not want to know that it's a good morning for you, and how dare you shine? How dare you shine in front of them as if you're loving your life? Who are you? So it stops. It stops you and it stops most of the world from shining and being grateful and loving, walking this world, walking this earth, honoring this beautiful gift that you have, living these privileged lives. You're all privileged. You are here. You are loved. You are supported. And you forget it.
Yeah.
But it's easy for us to say that, isn't it? It's easy for us to have that higher perspective because we know it's a game. We know it's not so serious. And we understand how challenging it is to be in the 3D because you're still wanting tangible proof. You're wanting to be in our position to look back and go, oh, it was just a game after all. And we have said this many times, but you still don't quite want to step into it. And this is not again speaking to the vehicle or to Sally. This is talking to everyone in general. You've all done it at some point, and you're still doing it when you're not having full faith and trust that we are here speaking to you from a different dimension and all is fine. We want to say we're jazz handsing and have great fun. And it's easy for us. But you signed up for those 3D lives and you have the privilege and honor to listen to us, step into our perspectives if you will. It will help you if you want to be helped. Otherwise, you'll sit there and criticize and judge and feel threatened that we don't understand how hard your lives are because of how hard you are perceiving your lives to be.
Mm-hmm. Thank you for that information. It's definitely a lot to think about.
Well, we understand that we have the greatest scope without the emotions of worry and fear and self-doubt. But we want to encourage you all to just try it. You don't have to sing to the world love and healing, but you can be more uplifting to the world and just see how far that gets you. Because many of you do not want to start speaking to strangers or reconnecting to people and being positive and uplifting because you don't understand there's a war potentially going on and there's disease and there's hunger and there's starvation and there's a whole lot of things that are really negative. And so you feel like you can't be happy here because everyone else wants to just focus on the negative. And it's a self-feeding loop that humanity seems to have. You only want to discuss the negative, the bad. You only want to focus on the negative and the bad. Suddenly talking about something that's very positive is quite simply unpopular. And so you have to be able to identify what the problems are socially, economically, structural systems, but yet not get stuck there and still have hope and faith and trust that all is well.
From your perspective, do you actually see those systems falling or ending before the shift? Do we have that much time?
We see that they are starting to crumble, but those who are in power to implement them do not choose. They will not want to choose to stop. They're not going to suddenly grow moral compasses and go, oh gosh, sorry, we didn't realize that that was disempowering you. Silly us. They know it's disempowering. They want you to be disempowered. They want to control you and keep you in fear and lack and limit. So unless humanity rises up above them and stops using those systems, stop complying to all of those systems, you're still seeking leaders. You're still wanting people to lead and guide you and have it all sorted out for you and create new systems. And you must be able to do it amongst yourselves. So you're wanting, we're going to say the analogy that we said to you the other day, you're the horse and we are trying to break down those walls of that field for the horse. And then the horse chooses to put up exactly the same walls again, just with different materials, thinking that that's going to be the solution. You're still building structures and systems around you. You're still thinking that you need that. You just can't see how you need to be completely free from it. So we see that many people realizing that these structures and these systems haven't been beneficial at all and have actually been based on a lot of nonsense. So, they're collapsing, but many people are still wanting to sort of fix them up and patch them up and sort of pretend that it's not corrupt as much as it is. And it's utterly corrupted, completely corrupted. And yet some of you are still complying to some of those systems and kind of avoiding the fact that that emperor is but naked. And so you are asking us, will they break down completely? Well, everything will break down completely. It just depends on what stage you're still experiencing this Earth's experience towards when the bigger shifts start occurring, things do sort of come to an abrupt end. And this is when you no longer have work systems. You don't need to go to work because lots of other things are going against your possibility to attend work. And so everything kind of gets super micro focused on just surviving. It comes quite quickly. And it is nothing to fear. Well, you're not wanting to drag out the old Earth experience. But it will be swift when things start unfolding. And you can see it's already starting to unravel at quite a fast pace. You can feel it. You can notice it. And so it's not a secret that we're trying to hide it from you. It is very obviously coming.
Yeah. I've been feeling intense energies in my stomach lately, a lot of almost like not anxiety, but an anxious feeling. So I was just curious because it kind of ramped up in March. And I was just wondering about that. So thank you.
You're feeling more intuition. That anxiousness in your gut stomach is your intuition that things are big and coming. And so, you're just, you're expanding your energy field. We almost want to say daily, you're expanding your energy field because you've released so much density, so much trauma from self that you are absorbing. You think that you are working busily on your new concepts at your work and your daily lives, but ultimately what you're doing is you're expanding of all concepts, and your energy field is expanding. This is why we've sort of distracted you with your new concepts of work to not notice how much other new energies you're taking on. Because if you started noticing all of that new energies taking on, you could start feeling and noticing the density of the energies you're really, really good at transmuting, because you are still at higher frequency. We do not want you to be at the highest frequency that you have maintained before, because it's not functioning. We want you to be functioning. We need you to be functioning at more of a communicative level. So you have got still compassion. Of course, you had compassion when you were higher frequency, but this is different. You are needing to transmute and absorb and magnetize yourself. And magnetize that density from others. So there's a lot going on for you, but you are thinking you're just wiped and exhausted from learning so many things in your training. And yes, that's true, it is. But we're expanding you energetically at a rapid rate. And so you're feeling that pit in your stomach, that anxiety in your stomach, because it's a new amount of frequency that you're holding on to. It's the sheer volume of it. And so it kind of, that pit in your stomach, it's where the density sort of resides. It almost makes you feel nauseous, either whether you don't know whether you're going to vomit or get diarrhea. You sort of have that moment of, oh gosh, this is uncomfortable. Sorry, we realize that's way too much personal information to just share like that. But yes, the diarrhea is a massive releasing energetically, and you deal with a lot of people publicly, and so even just you driving in the car, you're absorbing so much from those roads, that trauma from those roads. This is why sometimes you think you'd like to go on a different pathway to work, take a new route, because you sort of intuitively know, oh, this is going to be a lot of a lot of energy is going to be drained while I have to take this route again. So you almost want to go like a scenic route, because you sort of almost know it's quite a lot of work that you do energetically. So there's that, if you're pondering that.
Thank you.
So the collective has sort of just stepped in because the individual soul that you were speaking to does like to be more in his group. And when we say his, it's more like its group. And so he sort of merged back in. He is still here if you want to, but he does appreciate the bigger collectives speaking as they are in unity. He loves that he is part of this to help humanity. He is so proud of his work that he has done and loved it. And it's interesting because he still sees himself as equal to every single one of you. And for some of his bigger fans, this is to boost you. This is for you to know that you're very capable. And when you set good intentions and work hard at anything you want to, you will always succeed. But check what your success and what your definition of success is. Because some of you still think that success is something else. So you're wanting to fulfill your soul. And so sometimes you're trying to have 3D success versus your soul's success.
I like that. Do you have a message for Joanne?
That the collectives had already come in to speak prior to having this interview today, and it's the same consistent messages because the information is still consistent. It's still the same, regardless of what soul essence you come in and have interviews with. They've still got the same. They have the same agenda. They have the same hope. They have the same perspective. That it's incredibly easy to master the 3D when you stop distracting yourselves with the 3D and the limitations that the 3D has to offer. But you can play with those emotions as long as you want, but empowering yourself through it is probably the most successful and rewarding thing that the 3D has to offer.
Yeah, I'm feeling like a super playful, almost like not hyper, but a super energetic feeling off of this today. I don't know why it's making me like.
Because it is a game, because it is a play, and you do take your life so seriously because you want desperately to help people, that you focus on it so much that you're making it so much more super serious. And we love it when you're playful, because as soon as you go from that perspective of playful, that's when you gain that higher frequency so much more easier. When you take it so seriously, you've got to work for it harder to get that higher frequency, because you're almost wanting to just hold on to that density and drag the whole thing up with you. And that is pretty impossible and very challenging. And so when you just be responsible for self and play in the frolics of life and allow it all to unfold as it naturally will, then you can be a higher frequency vibration and then help that density that way. But you care deeply about people so much that you want to scoop up humanity. You want to scoop up Gaia and hold it and push it. And it's unnecessary. You don't need to do it that way. But we understand why you would want to do it that way and help that way. But it's the hard way. We say go the easy way.
Yeah, thanks.
Okay. We will return Joanne to her body now. And we say with much love and in all sincerity, you are so more capable than you even give yourselves credit for. This is the time to shine.